China's desire to become one of the world's leading aviation nations is on track. How do we know this? Because the 13th five-year roadmap plan for China's development is being realized. It's an incredible ambition to create 3 main airport clusters in China, and they have been established. We have the Beijing cluster, the Yangtze River Delta, which is essentially Shanghai, and then down here we have the Pearl River Delta, which is the Guangdong region. So these are amazing, amazing clusters. And remember these colors. Okay. We've analyzed the last 3 years of airport wins and projects under construction, and they demonstrate very clearly the cluster formations. You see them here. We have around the Shanghai cluster, the Beijing cluster, and the southern China cluster there. But we've also seen the evidence of the emergence of a 4th mega airport cluster in the West that may be identified, we believe, in the 14th five-year plan. Who are the winners benefiting from these projects? We are seeing 4 major LDIs consistently winning in their regions and also reaching out into less established cities and regions. There are obviously other excellent LDIs doing PRC aviation, but the 4 together are making up the current majority of the market share. The big 4, they are in the north, Biad, in the east, Takadi, in the south, Guangdong Design Institute, and in the west, Suswadi. And what are LDIs? Well, LDIs are essentially government-related architectural and engineering companies that are now independent. They all started in the 50s with admirable ambitions to serve society, to become international level of design, to focus very much on their deliverables. Okay. Oh, I'm flashing in and out here. And to compete on the world stage. Now, why did they begin in the 1950s? Because in 1949 was the establishment of the People's Republic of China, and the big LDIs were then formed to allow them to do the government work. Through the 1950s and 60s, we saw early PRC aviation and airports designed mainly utilitarian, controlled by the state, and with close ties to Chinese airport. It's quite interesting that actually is one of the first Beijing airports. So, what happened in 1978? Getting rich is glorious. The simple statement in 1978 by Chairman Deng Xiaoping rewired China's ambition to develop, and with this came an exponential growth in China air travel. Soon after was the establishment of the jet aircrafts in China, and through the 90s and 2000s, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou airports were radically upgraded. The big 4 LDIs started working with international consultants during this massive expansion to give them the new angles, the new lessons globally that could be learned. And then through the 2010s, we saw the launch of the China Civil Aviation Master Plan. And the big 4, they capitalized on what they'd learned and were able to use that to work on new projects. So is there still space for international consultants in China? Yes, very much so, and I'll prove this. So let's first look at the competition process. This is quite a generic list that could apply to any of the competitions over the last 10 years. What is quite interesting are 2 main issues, that there's always an overriding holistic singular vision required for the airport. So it's not just terminal or airfield, it's all together. And the concept and detailed stages are split, favoring exclusively to the LDIs for the DD stages. Now let's look at the goals. Now what this is 4 abstracted briefs, anonymous, from the competitions over the last 10 years. And we're seeing the same terminologies, these excellent aspirations creeping in the competitions. Primarily, though, the major 2 are the efficient operations and the people-orientated airport. These are about the machine for flying. We see green and sustainable, coming in and cost-effective design. And then we're seeing these new categories of the intelligent, the generation of value, and the culturally relevant design coming in. So we're seeing this really admirable list of achievements that are required within the competition scene. So, with a very LDI-centric environment and these generic competition briefs, is there room for innovation? What does this create? Well, what we're seeing is a remarkably consistent quality of product. Now, this product is excellent, but we are seeing it very consistent. The LDIs are learning and they're producing good designs that are competition winning. These are 4 individual airports. Inside, we're seeing a very similar, consistent interior design. These, again, are 4 different airports. There are challenges within the airports. With the rapidly increasing passenger numbers, it's often a challenge to integrate the processing environment successfully with the passenger experience. There are challenges. Now, successful retail is also a challenge. With limited market research available, retail is often treated as a guessing game with many empty shops at the result. There's quite a lot of try it and see. So we see massage chair shops, knick-knack shops, single-loaded retail on long routes being designed. And this obviously is an opportunity for improvement. Even when the airport groups look at exporting the in-town retail shops from the city into the airports, they often don't translate very well, and we see a lot of empty retail throughout the airports. 2 other areas that need mentioning: the GTC, the ground transport centres, often are a general brief, and we think will benefit greatly from more integration and synergy with alternative transport modes. Similarly, the Aerotropolis that often appears in the brief, again, needs to steer away from concept soundbites, Aerotropolis, Air City, and address the needs and wants of its neighbouring city. We think there's huge opportunities for the cities to become more integrated with the needs and the briefs of the Aerotropolis. So, is creativity and innovation still possible in China aviation? Well, the incredible opening of the Beijing airport, it is possible, it is happening, there are opportunities, and there is the possibility of amazing architecture. But there's also a growing awareness amongst the LDIs to differentiate themselves from this commonality that we're seeing in the designs. And from that, there is opportunities. And I'm going to show some evidence of this. Okay. Now, the first one. Some years back, the Chinese architecture group Cadre purchased CPG, a Singapore-based aviation designers. That was a very clever move by Cadre. They wanted to differentiate themselves. They wanted to give a new offering. Straight away, straight after the purchase in 2003, they won Xiamen Airport. And by 2016, were successful with Xi'an Airport. Now, what I really like about this clever coming together of the 2 international and the local LDI was they created a strong approach to design. You know one of their submissions when you see it before you see the name. They've created a little niche within themselves for how they interpret airports. And we see this is successful with the 2 wins. Arabs very cleverly have aligned with a small northern LDI, but together they've been able to challenge the briefs on some of their recent competition entries. And we've seen with that clever partnering, wins in Harbin and Lhasa recently. And I think there's another example of clever alignment and the LDIs reaching out to get an alternative way to approach the designs. Aedas, one of the largest architects in Asia, extremely well known for their aviation work in Hong Kong and all throughout China for our mixed-use retail and office spaces. We were able to combine that thinking with our submission in 2016 for the Shenzhen Airport Satellite Concourse with the Guangdong Design Institute. So again, the LDI recognized the value we could bring with alternative ways of thinking. And what we did is we brought our retail knowledge and our experience of China into the concourse, resulting in a win. Similarly, Aedas have recently partnered with Siswadi on the Yantai Airport Terminal. We were able to challenge the brief and put in quite a radical alternative design, which turned out to be successful with a win, which we're really, really pleased with. Now, lastly, to answer the retail environment question, the Chinese actively celebrate regionally grown produce, bringing fruit, food and flowers on flights as gifts. There is national pride in their culture, and this is admirable. This should be capitalised on, though, turning airports into regional cultural gateways, celebrating local produce in a modern, vibrant environment. So what are the takeaways for all of you? Well, I would say stay connected to your PLC friends. We believe there's a new era of LDI and international alliances happening. Now that the process has reached maturity, and a lot of the LDIs have learned a great deal over the last decade and creating a very good quality, now they want to differentiate themselves, and we believe there's a new era of invention and creativity going to happen for Chinese airports. We think there's going to be more of a drive within the internal environments of the airports to more of a regionally and locally relevant design. We think there's still opportunities for more integration of the GTC and synergy between the city and Aerotropolis. Thank you very much.